Well, good morning, everyone. And you are with Tom from Ludicrous Feed. Thank you so much for joining us this Saturday morning, the 9th of September, 2023. Nice of you to join us on the live stream tonight. If you're watching tonight, no, this morning. Get used to Thursday streams, but this morning, thank you for joining us. If you are watching us live, make sure you leave a comment as well. If you're watching us on replay, hello, and leave a comment too. And if you're listening to us on audio podcast, thanks for joining us. I just want to acknowledge our sponsors this morning. And that is, of course, Wallbox Australia and also Carloop for supporting the channel. So thank you, Wallbox. Thank you, Carloop, as we get on with today's stream. Speaking of which, let's welcome our regular guest as always, of course, and that is Riz from Carloop. Hello, Riz. How are you this morning?
Yeah, going well, Tom. Thanks for having me. It's a rainy morning here in Melbourne. I've already taken an EV out and I've tested its what I call drift mode. Well, it's not really a drift mode, but it's good fun. So I'll share a bit more of that later in the stream.
Oh, good. Looking forward to it. And yeah, thanks for joining us this morning, as with all the live guests or live audience members this morning too. Let's say hello to some of them. So we've got Sensei's joining us from Sydney. It is cold at the moment in Sydney. Yeah, it was warm yesterday, well, the day before, and now it's sort of turned cold again. Old New, hello from Melbourne. We've got Jerry Can from Adelaide, hello there. And Kevin from Lakeland, Florida, as always. Hello, Kevin. Okay. And Robin Jules making us all jealous from sunny Brisbane. Hello there. DC says, morning, Riz. And Robert says, morning, all. Excitedly waiting to pick up my Model Y on Wednesday. Accessories sitting, waiting. Good. We've got Jeremy. What's the best dinner to give an EV? And the answer is electric eel with chips baked in a quartz oven topped with power source and currants on the side. Very good, Jeremy. Thank you for that. Bulldogs, hello there, Tom. Hello there, Bulldogs. And Hal says good morning. Paul says good morning as well. Not for us, good morning all. And Cameron, morning, cups of tea, please. Yeah, absolutely. Abby, good morning. And Stuart, morning from all. I'm very encouraged to see 61 guests join us, Riz, on Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Isn't that amazing?
It's all happening, and it's so good for everyone to join and share all the notes of what's happening in the EV space and ask questions. This is what this is about, and we're all here just to learn from each other.
That's right. So Saturday morning is, I guess a bit more casual. Ask your questions. We'll try and answer them if we can, and we'll try and put up some news stories from around the world. Yeah, so good to see. All right, well, let's kick off today with one of Riz's articles from The Driven. We touched on this on Thursday with our stream with Rahul, and isn't that good of Rahul to join us on his road trip to Sydney? And so, we touched on this Mach-E sighting in Australia. So Riz, take this away.
Yeah, Tom, so this was actually started by one of your viewers and shared on X with yourself. And I thought it was a good thing to share with other people as well who read The Driven and beyond, that we've got, first sort of set of Mustang Mach-E's on the road. What's, usually when I look at these sightings and spottings, and particularly when they've got a number plate, you can do registration checks on most state and territory websites, and New South Wales is their system is awesome. It even tells you if it's a valuation vehicle. Unfortunately, here in Victoria, when you do a rego check on that number plate, it says, sorry, not in our record. So it's very hard to find any detail really on the vehicle. So a bit disappointing. I couldn't dig a bit deeper into what it is, but then the specs of, as we know, that comes in 3 variants, and the GT is way over $100,000 and 0-100 in 3.7 seconds, which I don't think that particular vehicle is. But yeah, good to see first sort of batch of those cars potentially here in Melbourne. Ford's sort of head office is based in Victoria. I don't know if that's the location where it's at, but it's good to see first couple of cars, and we can't wait to get Tom into one so he can tell us exactly what they're like.
Yeah, that's right. I did get in touch with one of the Ford reps this week, so hopefully we'll get one of these to test for the channel. But look, I do like the Ford Mach-E. It looks lovely. Looks very angry from the back, as you would expect with a Mustang, right? And the Mustang logo too. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to testing these. Let's have a look at some of these specs just down here in Riz's article. So the Select, which is the base model, comes with 198 kilowatt, 430 newton meters of torque. It's pretty good. 71 kilowatt hour lithium iron phosphate battery. So that's quite a big battery pack, Riz, for lithium iron phosphate.
Yeah, it's interesting because we know the Mustang it's supposed to be it is an electric car, but it's not sort of the second generation proper ground up EV with all the efficiencies built into it, like Tesla does with their Model 3 and Model Ys. So yeah, large pack. They moved away for cost reasons. I think in the States, the LFP pack wasn't what they originally launched with. So now they seem to be doing more and more and bringing the LFP packs into their standard cars, but also the F-150 Lightning. And Ford is actually building a factory in collaboration with CATL, who sort of specialize in LFP packs that also supply to Tesla in the US as part of their Inflation Reduction Act to get more battery capacity into the US. The only issue that's occurred is it's, let's just say, annoyed a couple of the American politicians to say the whole point was to keep, let's just say, China out of the US and evolve the US battery manufacturing. But Ford's gone and done a partnership with them, literally rolled out a red carpet for them to come in, which I think is the right thing to do, in the sense that if you don't have the technology, you partner with someone that does, and CATL does. So we'll see. They'll be doing more and more in the LFP space, just as Tesla is.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Where are they sourcing these LFP battery packs from? Because we know they're from China, from CATL. So is the factory going to be built in the US, or are they going to partner with a factory in Shanghai or China?
I think the factory will be built in the US, but that will generally only cover left-hand drive builds for the North American market. I believe, and I may be wrong, I'll double check this for us for next time. But I think these Mustangs are coming from Mexico. That's where the plant is for Ford. And I think obviously you can buy them in New Zealand now, and I believe you've been able to buy them in the UK for a while.
Yeah, so this is promising. Certainly the top performance GT spec. 860 newton meters of torque. That's pretty good. 0 to 103.7. So that's pretty quick. That's sort of equivalent to Model Y performance and the Kia EV6 kind of GT territory. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hopefully testing this out one day. And they look pretty good from the front as well, from these stock images too. So as the price Riz said, $79,990 for the Select variant. Is that US dollars?
No, it's Australian.
Australian. Okay, that's not too bad. And then over 100K for the GT. So cool. All right. Well, that's good to know. And recent sightings, yeah, F-150. Again, we weren't sure whether this was a converted one or a manufactured one. Yep. We'll see. Excellent. All right. Well, let's take a few comments from our audience as we move on. So we've got Jim saying, hello, morning, boys. And Nikhil saying, winter has definitely not left Melbourne. Riz can attest to that, I think.
It's cold. I've got my T-shirt on.
Riz doesn't feel the cold. He's tough.
I've always got my runners on, so it's just...
He's always running anyway. Bondanos 7:30 here in Adelaide. Got my coffee ready. Excellent. Well, it's even earlier in Adelaide and the Western States. So good. Thanks for joining us. Nick's saying it's cold in Adelaide, but good for renewables. Nice and sunny there, I'm sure. Now, Nick's asking, I thought Ford discontinued the Mach-E. Riz, thoughts on
that? There was some talk about that in the US. I mean, they're not selling a great deal of them. That's the issue they've got. I mean, Tesla's dominating everywhere. Unfortunately, in the US, they definitely are. But I feel that Ford is basically, finally bringing these cars into Australia means that they will maybe trickle them into some other markets that they haven't produced them or they haven't sold them in the past. But I would expect them to be releasing a new version of the Mustang in the coming years because it's such an iconic brand, and particularly in the US, there's a huge amount of brand affinity with Ford, and I think this, Ford can help many of the existing owners electrify into these vehicles, regardless of, let's just say, how efficient they are in comparison to Tesla, BYD, and others, purely because they have that brand affinity and would rather have people driving, let's call them slightly less efficient electric cars than continue to drive petrol and diesel cars.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And of course, we now know Ford has partnered with NACS, or with Tesla's NACS standard, North American Charging Standard. So you can at least now use the Tesla Supercharger network too. So another reason to buy Ford. And look, Ford, as you know, a lot of sentiment in America, one of the OEMs over there. So yeah, you're right. I'd rather them drive these cars than another very inefficient petrol vehicle. So yeah, good to see. Question from Jim. Hi, boys. When the limited regen light is on, does any power at all go into the battery? Now, this occurs generally, well, I know in Tesla at least, occurs when you're at the very top of your state of charge, and also when the weather's a bit colder as well. You'll have to look at your power bar. If it goes into the green, then you've got some power going in. If not, you can generally feel when it's not, the car's just cruising rather than slowing down as you coming to a stop. So, good question, though. Wow, look at this. 82 concurrent viewers already at 8:14 a.m. on a Saturday. I'm so impressed, Riz. This is a really amazing engagement from our audience. Thank you so much. Let's take some more questions. So, yeah, Bulldogs, good question. I don't understand why these cars, Ford, Kia, Hyundai, EVs, are so much more expensive than, let's say, Tesla. Look, I could probably answer a bit of this, and I think Riz can chime in. I think it's to do with the production. We've witnessed a lot of Teslas investor days and stockholder days where they tell you or show you how efficient their processes are. They've developed that over the last decade, where it's sort of akin to like a bottle production factory, where every process is just refined until it becomes a really good production line. And I think that's part of the reason why Tesla has been able to make their processes so efficient. Riz, I'm sure you probably agree with that too.
Yeah, 100%. One of the reasons why Tesla is just so far ahead is because of they've thought of everything from ground up on what an electric car needs, and what it doesn't need, it doesn't have. Whereas some of the older manufacturers, traditional manufacturers, they have to keep their ICE business going to fund this electric vehicle transition. And, I think the Volkswagen CEO, we might come back to that. The Volkswagen CEO recently said that, their ICE business is so profitable and they don't see it changing anytime soon. But it's sort of a catch-22 situation, where if you don't make as many electric vehicles that people want today, you will not be able to scale it up in the future, because you will have the unit economics and the manufacturing and production costs will remain high the less amount of units you produce. So yeah, Tom, you're spot on, and I think it's going to be a bit of a challenge for some of these manufacturers. Hyundai, on the other hand, compared to Volkswagen, I think they're pretty serious about this. Hyundai Kia Group, they've said that 2030 they have some really high targets, and even a platform like the EGMP that we see on Ioniq 5 and Ioniq 6, and obviously the Kia cars as well. It's very good, like ground up electric platform. It's just now needs to be more affordable. So I think they understand that to do that, they need to be pretty sharp and pretty focused with their pricing, because otherwise people compare everything to a Model Y. So it'll be very interesting to see what the Kona Electric, which will launch next quarter, what price it comes in. If it's like the old one, it just won't sell as well, because the Model Y is now roughly 65 grand. And if the Kona Electric is roughly 65 grand, then it would make it very hard for Hyundai to move many cars and sell more, which is what they want to do.
Yeah, look, we do focus a lot on Tesla on the stream, and that's only natural. I think it's natural to look towards the market leader in any industry. Even, obviously as athletes, you look to the leader, right? You have to look at the leader, which is currently Tesla. They're ahead in efficiency, in manufacturing, the price. So yeah, I'm looking forward to EGMP, the second generation. They've got a lot of refinements they can make for the Ioniqs and the Kia EV6s and so on. So, and the Genesis even. So looking forward to seeing what they can do, if, as Riz says, they are very serious in this space. All right, let's take some more comments. So we've got John saying good morning from Brisbane. Hello there. We've got, Let's see. Peter Cook. Hello, Peter. One of our members saying good morning. This is too early to be awake. That's all right. We're here for you guys. All good. Chris is saying Melbourne is the coldest city in the world right now. Well, is it right now? I don't know. Maybe.
Could potentially be this.
Robert saying I was really interested in either the Renault Megane E-Tech or the Nissan Ariya, but the legacy makers have priced themselves out of consideration. Hence, so with Tesla. Again, this is kind of what we touched on, is, others just cannot compete at the moment.
And Nissan being, they always promote themselves as the leaders in electrification, which they've done a lot in the Nissan Leaf space. They've done a lot of good things. But now, I think it's a Nissan Renault alliance as well. Renault Megane is an interesting one. There were a lot of people very interested in that car because in Europe it comes with 22 kilowatt AC charging. And here we don't get that. They removed it out of the spec and still priced it fairly high. It was above 60,000 from memory. And that's a lot of money for, when you compare it to basically the BYDs or anything else. So firstly, a lot of these companies are late to the party. And then secondly, they're pricing themselves out of the market.
Yep, for reasons we've already discussed. So, yep. All right, Alan saying good morning, fine and sunny, 13 degrees in Port Stephens. Okay, lovely. Now, Sensei, I might just do a quick plug. Yes, I am selling my black rear-wheel drive Model 3, only 4 months old, great condition. Have a look at it on car sales if you're interested in Sydney. The price is the price. I won't pull it up here, but go and have a look if you're interested. There's been a bit of interest, so it won't last long, let me tell you that.
You got about 40 buyers coming in today to have a look, aren't they?
That's why I'm in this house right now,
That's right.
They're all coming in to have a look. There is a bit of interest, Sensei, but thank you for pointing that out. Okay, Jamie, I think also the larger price is the shift away from the warranty and service model of dealerships, as this is always the most profitable department in a dealership. Juan saying I want a hardcore Cybertruck interior. Yeah, why not? It looks pretty hardcore as it is, without any wrap or anything else added to it. Quick question from Paul. Quick question, gents. I recently ordered a Model Y long range and have delivery in the next 3 weeks. Congratulations. Does the Model Y now come with a rear parcel shelf or not? I believe it does, Paul. I'll try and do a quick short of it with a friend who's just ordered one and got it delivered with a parcel shelf too. So we've got John saying yes, it does. Got mine with a parcel shelf a few weeks ago. Excellent. Hal makes a good point here, Riz. Just to look at the difference between the dash in an Ioniq 5.6 versus Model 3, huge difference in cost and materials manufacture. That is just one area. So yes, it's very minimalistic in Tesla Model 3, Model Y. Look at Ioniq 5.6, any other sort of legacy EVs, it's still pretty busy on the front there. So that does add to the cost.
One thing that I'm quite interested in, and we touched on this the other day, the Volvo EX30 has a very minimalist, and I think Polestar and Volvo generally nowadays are going down that path, particularly on their more, let's call them affordable models. In contrast, Volkswagen, they recently this year released the ID.6, I think, on ID.7, which is their sedan, and it looks like they've taken something out of Tesla's book with everything on single screen, a small screen behind the steering wheel, very minimalistic. Even the air vents design is very similar, and they don't think, like, as soon as the production was about to begin in Europe, they don't think there's a market for it. So now they're in a bit of trouble because it's priced like over 60,000 euros. And
wow.
To the viewer's point earlier, they're just too expensive, even when they go to the minimalistic looks on things. So yeah, we'll have to just keep a watch on this space.
That's right, and EVs are still an afterthought for a lot of legacy OEMs, rather than the first, at forefront of their future, right? So we'll see what happens anyway. They've got to catch up eventually. But thank you, Hal. That's a good point. 87 viewers, Riz, at the 20-minute mark. Again, I'm very impressed on a Saturday morning. Seriously, this show's going places. Saturday morning is it's good. I'm very happy with this. All right, let's have a look at this from Jerry. New Model 3 has 0.219 drag coefficient down from 0.23 due to minor body changes. Yes, probably new tires as well, new wheels with more comfort, suspension, etc. The BYD Seal has a 0.219 coefficient as well. Comfortable interior, so ICE is not the competition. It's Tesla versus BYD. Yeah, that's true.
That will be quite interesting to see. Obviously, we can't wait to get the Seal. Get Tom into a Seal, and literally just have a look and do all the tests and things that you do, Tom, because charging would be a key area. Interior space would be another one. The quality of build from all the things coming out of Europe, they reckon it's really well built. So yeah, let's see what the efficiency is like. I think the Seal was slightly longer, so it has more surfaces when it comes to with air resistance, and so it would be from a drag point of view as well. But with the similar drag coefficients, it would be worth a test and a comparison.
Yes, so stay tuned for next week because both Riz and I have been invited to the media launch of the Seal at the new Sydney Megastore. So I'm looking forward to bringing you highlights from that event. So I look forward to showing you that, and yeah, stay tuned for that one. I think the Seal will be launched there as well, so looking forward to having a look. And the Dolphin too, which no one's been able to test drive just yet. But at least with BYDs now, we have a baseline to compare it to, which is the BYD Atto 3, and of course, the market leader's Tesla as well. Robert, first time listening, or first time writing here. Like listening to you too. Thank you, Robert. That's very nice of you. Brendan saying, first time listener from Riverland. Hey, congratulations. Oh, hello, welcome. Is the supercharger network coming through from Adelaide to Sydney via the Riverland Sunraysia anytime soon? Is that through the inland there is? I just can't remember where that is. Let me have a look.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I'm assuming it would be not along the coast, but yeah, we'll have a quick look. Charles, who usually joins us on Thursday evenings, is very much across what's happening in the supercharger space.
Yep. Yeah. If Charles is not here today, we can. I'm sure he'll comment later on. So great. I think it's the inland route, Riz. I'm just looking at the Google images now. So I think so. I think Wagga Wagga's got one. So I think do you mean like Wagga Wagga, Hay, Mildura through the inland there? Because that would be a good route. There are some third-party chargers there, so you could potentially use it still. But it'd be good to have the supercharger network there.
That's also, as you said, Tom, it's starting to grow, like particularly in South Australia, RA is finally starting to roll their network out. And I think Victoria, when they, finally stop doing silly things, can actually expand and do some of that stuff as well. So, yeah, we need to focus on those inland areas, and we don't want them left behind in this. And hopefully this NRMA national network will be good enough as well when it's launched.
Lucas says, hi guys, love listening to you guys. What do you think of used EVs as Hello?
Hey, Tom, you there? Yeah, I think Tom may join us. Hopefully you all can sort of hear me at the moment until we get Tom back. Cool. So I guess until we wait for Tom, let's have a quick look. So used affordable EVs, that's a question I could definitely answer. It seems that there is more and more used vehicles coming on the market at the moment. Tesla Model 3 is sort of, you can find some good deals around the early $40,000 mark, but then we're waiting for, when eventually the Atto 3s get slightly coming a bit more on the used market. We'll have to wait and see. They're still relatively new under, 12 months now. August sort of last year was the first deliveries, and the mass deliveries sort of started to come through in September, October. So we'll have to find out what goes on there. I'm quite interested in the MG ZS EV, the first generation of the ZS, but obviously they're affordable, sort of starting the mid $30,000 mark. But I'm hoping that eventually we'll be able to get up to get them under 30,000, so more people can get behind the wheel of an electric car.
Sorry, everyone, I'm back. Yes, good old NBN blowing up tonight.
Oh, I thought you had a couple of people come and look at the car. There's
Maybe
40
I
of them
did.
coming.
That's right. A couple of them just popped in, but no. Yes, I'll have to blame the good old NBN in Australia. But sorry about that, everyone. I am back. Sorry, Riz, what you were saying, yes, used car, what to look out for. The traction battery, isn't it? That's the main thing you need to look out for.
Yeah, and also just the general models that are around that are coming in, like the first generation MG ZS, the Hyundai Kona, some of the older vehicles that are starting to come up. But I'm not aware of like someone doing like a full-blown inspection test, because like RACV and RMAs of the world used to do these vehicle inspection for people prior to purchasing. So you can just go on the website and they'll go and have a look at the car with the qualified mechanics as an independent assessor. I don't know if they're moving into this EV space. I don't think they understand a lot of it. So buyer be aware. But yeah, look at the traction battery, the service log, particularly for legacy OEM cars, because you don't want to be left out with something going wrong with the battery or other components of the vehicle when you buy a used vehicle and you go to the dealer and they say, well, it hasn't been serviced properly in the past. So
yeah, it is hard to do a full battery check on the spot. If you want to do a full battery health check, you either have to use a third-party app like Scan My Tesla or go into service mode for a Tesla. Harder probably in other OEMs. But something you could do is look at or ask them what's the full range when it's 100%. And then you could possibly compare it to what it's like for when it's full, when it's new, and that's sort of a rough idea of what it's like at the moment. So you'd expect about 10% degradation after like probably 5-6 years. That's kind of where it plateaus. It's just a rough guide. Cool. All right. Again, apologies everyone. We are back. So thanks again for bearing with me. Yes, I don't have Starlink, Sensei. Maybe I should get it now. We'll see. It's normally pretty reliable. Yeah, so any new accessories? So Nick, have a look at my channel. There's plenty of videos there to guide you with accessories wise. All right, well, let's move on a little bit before we take some more questions and comments. Let's have a look at this article here. So this is Teslarati, up to 20,000 Tesla universal wall connectors to be installed at 2,000 Hilton sites in the US. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's quite a lot, I think. I didn't know Hilton had 2,000 sites.
Across the US, Canada, and Mexico, so all of North America, basically.
Wow, that's yeah. So I think 20,000 of them, and I believe these are the ones that the new wall connector in the US that has the magic dock-like setup where you can charge Teslas and non-Teslas.
This is good. This is good because we've mentioned this many times on the stream. Riz, accommodations where it's at. If you want to travel, you want to pick somewhere with a charging overnight. So it's good to see Hilton coming on board there. All right, cool. Look at this, 95 95 viewers watching us at the moment, almost 100 at the halfway mark. So very impressive.
Yeah, it's amazing support for our Saturday show.
Yeah. At this stage, I just want to again acknowledge our sponsors this morning. So the live stream is now currently proudly sponsored by Wallbox. We've got a Wallbox at home now, thanks to Wallbox. It's a Pulsar Max 22, which I'll be testing later on this year, and also Carloop as well. So thank you, Riz from Carloop, for sponsoring the channel too. Much appreciated. We've possibly got some content from Carloop too coming up, Riz.
Yeah, it should be good. It's a combination of the charts and other things that all our viewers have been asking for and wanting to dive a bit deeper into what's really going on with EV uptake in Australia.
Yep, absolutely. So stay tuned for that. All right, so let's move on a little bit to this one now. So this is from Electric. Volkswagen CEO does not see Chinese EV makers as a threat as prices double overseas. Is this a joke, Riz, or is this the real thing?
I don't know what it is, because this comes only a couple of weeks after they went and bought like a last generation platform from Xpeng. So like they bought a last generation electric vehicle platform from a Chinese car maker, and electric vehicle maker, and they believe that that Chinese EV makers are not a threat. There is the only caveat is, I think he's speaking about Chinese car makers in Europe, but I think he will be very wrong, because at the Shanghai Auto Show earlier this year, a lot of the Volkswagen executives and members of the boards were hanging around BYD's stand looking at the BYD Seagull, which is a very affordable small electric car, which would be ideal for Europe, and it would sell like hotcakes. So I think they're just denying what is about to happen. And like we discussed earlier, the Volkswagen ID7, which is a European-made built vehicle, and they can't sell them. Whereas I think the Seal will sell quite well, because BYD this last week has just done that expo in Munich, right in their territory.
Yeah, that's right. And Gaffer's right. I think this is a necessary bluster. They know how much trouble they're in. And Riz, you touched on the fact that, yeah, the auto shows in Shanghai, people hanging around, the Chinese stalls, the European, executives. And Elliot Richards, one of our good friends from Fully Charged, was on our stream a couple of times this year, and he said that too. There were a couple of grim-faced European executives from OEMs looking a bit worried at the time. So, yes, I think the Chinese are definitely coming, and you just cannot bury your head in the sand. You need to step up with the competition. So, yeah, very interesting indeed. Cool. And let's see, got some more chat comments here. Let's see. Yeah, Nick says maybe Airbnb will take on installing destination chargers. Well, it's kind of up to the owners to do that. Maybe there'll be an incentive to do that. I certainly, when I travel, I look for accommodation and Airbnb with the chargers, because it makes life so much easier rather than having to find a public charger. So people will clue on, hopefully. Hal's saying, just spoke to the young lady. Her boss has leased a rear-wheel drive Model Y as a company car at the age of 20. How good's that? Boy, am I jealous. Apparently the cost was the same as a RAV4 ICE. Yeah, that's cool. Very good. And now with the fringe benefit tax exemption, have a look at my videos, guys, if you haven't seen that recently. We had some real-world figures from one of our viewers about how much you can save with the novated lease. Even with today's higher borrowing costs, you're still not having to spend your money up front, and that can still offset a higher home loan, home loan with a higher interest rate too. So that's worth looking at. Question from Robert: if you get 19-inch wheels on the new Tesla Model 3, does it mean the ride is slightly higher than 12.7 millimeters? I'm concerned if the car will scrape into the driveway on an S gutter. Yeah, no, good point. Ride height slightly. Well, yeah, I'm always a bit worried about this. The wheels, Riz, does it affect the how high the ride height is with bigger wheels? Not sure.
Sometimes it does, but I think one thing you could test, Robert, I know we're talking about the new Model 3, but one thing you could test is see if you can take the current generation Model 3 with 19-inch wheels for a test drive and see if you can drive easily up your driveway with it, because I don't think the ride height has changed that much. It's only a couple of millimeters sort of shorter than what the current generation is. So if the current generation goes up and you see there's enough clearance, you should be okay with the new one as well.
Yep. Cool. And sorry, a comment I missed earlier. Hey Tom, for the next review, we need an Aussie version of the well-known banana box or soccer ball test for load capacity. I'm sure the family would enjoy helping out. What do we need for that? What's an Australian variation of Bjorn's banana box test? What can we do? Put your comments down, guys.
That would love to know. So with the, I sometimes do a front test, and maybe I should do more of them. I try and put pizza boxes. Used to be a pizza delivery driver once upon a
Yes.
time, in younger Riz days before I got my runners on. And yeah, that's for the front, but I think we can definitely think of something. So put your comments down, and any suggestions would be awesome.
Yeah. Yep. Give me your suggestions. I will have a look. Something I can do efficiently. I missed this comment from Peter earlier. Gawler is on the Riverland route. Right. Yes, I think so. Someone said Gawler Council is the problem at the moment, isn't it? I saw earlier. Anyway, you go. Peter says Gawler Council said no. So we'll get Charles to confirm that, I'm sure, in the comments later on. Thanks, everyone. Question: does Tesla in-car nav recommend third-party chargers when there are no superchargers along your route? Been on a few road trips. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Don't think so at the moment. You can't even precondition your vehicle, although you can probably fool your vehicle by putting a nearby supercharger, but you can't. It doesn't recommend the third-party stuff at the moment. Question from Tony. Now that Model 3 has been released, when do you think Model Y Project Juniper refresh will come? Model Y refresh may have bigger impact given its popularity. 2 weeks, Riz?
Yeah, 2 weeks for sure. I think I think they got to get the kinks out of the production for the Model 3 Highland. There's some insight from Shanghai coming out saying at the moment, this last week they've been producing 600 Highlands a day, which roughly translates to 3,500 a week, because they operate, I believe, on a 6-day roster. And next week they're planning on having production capacity. I'm not sure if they actually produce that much, doubling it to 1,200 a day.
Wow.
So once they get those out, then Model Y will probably get a look in, but I'm sure they're working on it already.
Yep. Cool. And Fallon saying wheels need to be the same diameter for speedo calibration. Okay, thanks for that. Question for Nevada Lease. Question on Nevada Lease. For non-EV, my employer is making me pay FBT. Is that legal? Well, if it's a non-EV, I mean, yes. I guess, well, you're not supposed to pay it. They pass on the costs. The employer pass on the costs, because the employer technically is the one that's subject to FBT. So, yeah, I mean, they can always pass on a fee or something, right? Okay. All right. And Alan Morgan, noticed the latest ABRP, a better route planner, now activates battery conditioning in the Tesla. Really? Okay. I'll have to test that. I wasn't aware of that. Thanks, Alan. Okay, so let's move on to this X today, or yesterday, from Sawyer. So breaking news, Tesla has launched Powerwall 3. I'm not sure if it's been officially launched, but certainly it's been spotted in the wild. Third generation of its residential energy storage product. Powerwall 3 is approximately 2-inch shorter, 6-inch narrower, and about 1-inch thicker versus Gen 2. I haven't seen any specs yet on the capacity of this thing. I'll have a look at it later this week. So there it is. That's the Powerwall 3 compared to Powerwall 2. This is it side by side. That's 2. That's 3. There it is on the side there. I mean, look, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but some people are saying it's not as good looking as the original there next to it. Look, I'm not too worried. It's a battery, right? So if it does the job, I don't really care, because I'm not going to see it all the time.
So, Tom, I know no official specs have been released, but you're a Powerwall 2 owner, I believe. So what in terms of, like, for someone like me who's thinking about getting a Powerwall, and I'm sure there'll be some of our viewers that are as well, the Gen 2 that you've had for a while, that's been doing the job fairly well and what it needs to do, I guess.
Yeah, like I said, if it does the job, I don't care what it looks like. It's a battery, right? But yeah, I've had it for, let's see, 7 years now. This is the 7th year of operation. And I've got to do a proper test, but from the Tesla app, I can see it at least generates or provides 12 kilowatt hour capacity. And that's just a very rough estimate. Originally, it's 13.5, but I'll have to drain it fully to tell everyone how much it's lost over the years in terms of degradation. But if you look at the payback figures, sure, they may not add up, financially, but it's been great as a backup facility, like during a storm, for example, or there's blackout on the street. Good if you can offset a high, peak tariff when you are got a time of use plan. And also, if you're with like a virtual power plant, like for example Amber, or with that offers wholesale pricing, you can potentially make the cost back quicker if you get a higher feed-in tariff. So they're kind of the 3 points that I think is worth discussing if you want to, weigh up whether it's worth buying a battery at this stage in 2023.
And for Tom, for some viewers, I guess that they may have like a fixed sort of a tariff pricing as well. So can we, like, in the evenings when the sun isn't shining, can we set the Powerwall so it discharges sort of during that peak period in the evening, where our the appliances and things can sort of run off the Powerwall at that time when it charges off the sun during the day?
Yeah, I mean that's the whole premise of the Powerwall too. If the sun is not shining, it's naturally going to kick in anyway. So it has a 5 kilowatt maximum output, 7 surge. So 5 kilowatts is generally enough for us anyway, for a family of 4. So if the sun's still shining, then great, you're going to use the sun. But as soon as the sun starts to dip down, or even when the cloud cover comes over, then the battery will automatically kick in within microseconds. That's the beauty of a backup like a battery like this. Whereas any other sort of source, it takes a while for it to sort of provide backup. But having an lithium-ion battery in your home that can switch on within microseconds, it's a perfect solution for offsetting during those periods where there's no sun shining. So perfect solution in my opinion. So there we go. Thank you. Yes, so Robin Jules watched Tom's early Powerwall 2 calculation. That was like back in 2018, I think, 5 years ago. But I think at the time I calculated with solar, the payback is about 8 to 9 years. It's not a perfect payback calculation solution, but it's sort of a rough guide as to how much you can, or what the payback time can be. The warranty is 10 years, so if you use that guide, it's sort of within the warranty period, so it's still worth doing. Okay, there you go. John's saying Powerwall batteries can also be useful during unreliable power sources, blackouts, etc. Okay, let's move on with the next article, Riz. What else do you want to chat about?
So we know that Tesla is always making updates to their vehicles, and one of the ones that some people that drive a lot of other cars sort of miss when they get into Tesla has been revealed in an owner's manual. So that for those that are looking, the Project Highland Tesla Model 3 2024 car owner's manual is up on Tesla Europe's website. And you can have a squiz through it over the weekend for some light reading. But one of the features that people have been waiting for has been highlighted. So I think it may be of use to a lot of people.
Yes, I believe you're talking about the blind spot monitoring here in this Teslarati article.
Yeah.
So if it's anything like that little red spot, that's cool. It's almost like a sentry mode red spot, right? Like, watch out, someone's coming. Yeah, I agree. It's a useful feature, like to have. Having tested a lot of other cars, it's quite nice having that little flash as someone passes you, or if you're trying to pull out, you see that coming. So good to see that's coming to Model 3. There's a better shot of it there in the manual. So as people don't know, I've got one on order, so does Riz. So that's coming in March 2024, hopefully. It'll be good. And look, there's another shot of the stalkless steering wheel there. Nice. Good. Thanks again for comments, everyone. Let's have a look. Paul, hi Paul, good morning. Does anyone have Powerwalls without solar panels? I have no usable roof space. I don't know anyone without solar panels installed, Paul. Look, I think most of the payback time is due to solar panels. Does it work without solar? Yeah, you can certainly have it charging from the grid if you've got a cheaper electricity plant overnight, and then sort of load shift it so it's cheaper during the day. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see anyone with a real world example to see whether it works for them. But good point. Alan, battery helps charging off peak. Yeah, as well. So with Powerwall 2, but I should say too, it's smart enough to know if you've got a cheaper, excuse me, if you've got a cheaper electricity plant at night. For some reason, the Powerwall knows to not use the battery to charge your EV at night, which is really clever. Say if you've got a cheap Powerwall, a Power Shop tariff, for example, like I do, it'll use the cheaper tariff because you can plug in your tariffs in the app, and the Powerwall won't charge your EV. It'll use the cheaper tariff overnight, which is really clever, I think. Question: how many times would you cycle the Powerwall all day? Well, one cycle, by the way, is according to definitions, is basically 100 to 0 and then full again. So that's counted as one cycle. And generally speaking, for me, I've looked at the app a few times. It's about one cycle per day. Charge to full, drain to 20%, which is my reserve, and then back up to 100% the next day. So about one a day. So I don't understand how batteries used in homes with a 21 kilowatt ducted aircon. So the Powerwall 2 is a single phase battery. There's not very many three-phase batteries. So it uses net metering. So it'll basically discharge back to the grid and you pull as much as you need. And then the balance is what you pay in terms of cost. What it sends back to the grid is not feed-in tariff. It balances up with what you're taking back from the grid on the other two phases, if that makes sense. That's how it works in Australia with three-phase. Yeah, thanks, Sensei. 106 viewers. Yeah, appreciate that. Riz, we've topped the 100 already at the 47-minute mark. It's amazing for a Saturday morning, really. Yeah. Okay, Biker, we've installed a battery in Jan 2023. So far, I've paid $10 in electricity this year. How good is that? Initially, my calculation was 10 years, but with recent grid prices, now 7 years. Yeah, that's a good point. With the increase in electricity, it's gonna drop again with how much you pay back.
And the feed-in tariffs are declining as well. So, I've had my retailer gone from, I think it was 12 cents per kilowatt hour for feeding in. There's now it's like 4.9 cents. It's like happened so quickly. So, you're better off just using your own, if you've got solar panels, storing your energy and using it when you need it at night.
Yep. Or charging your car during the day, like with, for example, Wallbox, plug, or Charge HQ, which is the software version. So, Riz, question for you, I guess. Does RACV have the same type of charging rollout that the NRMA are currently working on?
No. So RACV has traditionally stayed away from this space. They have a couple of chargers or branded RACV chargers in Torquay, but that's about it. And they're doing some stuff with RACV solar, but generally just installing some DC chargers. So NRMA is sort of on its own with doing the kind of work that they're doing in New South Wales and also the national network.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right. No, there's no three-phase Powerwall at the moment, Cameron. The gateway is three-phase, but even then, it's not true three-phase. It's still a single-phase product. You still require net metering. It certainly does not. It does not actually power a three-phase inverter even. So if you've got a three-phase solar system, the solar system won't actually work in a blackout. The battery will, but it'll just it will only be you can only use the capacity of the battery in a blackout with a three-phase inverter system. If that makes sense. If you've got a single-phase system, it's perfect. It's like the same as the US. That's what it was designed for, the US market. Good question though. All right, Riz, let's move on to this article here. This is the Volvo EX30. Massive response as it opens orders in Australia.
Yeah, so Volvo last week confirmed that they got 800 orders for this car. And I mean, I'm quite excited to see when it lands what it's like, because it's minimalistic on the inside. It's small enough to be considered somewhat of a hatchback. And for those with, tighter garage spaces or car parks, apartment living is also, they can start to make that switch. And it's a nice looking car. And we know that Volvo and Polestar does a reasonable job with their interiors. And yeah, you can see how minimalistic that is.
Yeah. I wonder whether the screen swivels no, it probably doesn't. I can see the aircon vents are there, not like the BYDs.
Yeah, that's right. It'd be interesting to see what it's like in person. A lot of these artist impressions are a bit harder to gauge what it would be really like.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, if you look at the dimensions, it's slightly longer than the MG4.
Mm.
Um, but it's yeah, and it's priced. It's not, let's say, affordable, but it's not priced bad for, let's say, some people may call a premium brand.
Mm.
And nothing from Mercedes or BMW or Audi even comes close to that.
No, I think the price is fairly appealing, I would say. And look, it's very clean on the inside. There's no binnacle even, I think, from what I can see from these artist impressions. So very Model 3-esque, Model Y-esque. So looking forward to testing that. And I can see the WLTP range is 460 kilometers on the. Oh, they all share the same battery pack, 69
Yeah.
kilowatt hours. Okay. So yeah, for a car that's MG4-esque in size and Swedish design, yeah, it looks good. I quite like the Volvos and Polestars. DC charging 150 kilowatts, so that's good for a road trip too, right? As we saw, Riz, the MG4 didn't charge too quick, so that's something this has over that. So yeah, might have to do another Canberra trip for you guys if we get a hold of one of these vehicles.
And check out that. What was that? The new charges that opened up. Mint something. Mint
Oh yes, the Australian Mint
Australian Mint.
with NG ChargeFox. Yeah, I think it's like 5 CCS2, 1 Chatamo plug, so it should be good. Cool. Let's talk about this one now. So we talked about BYD a bit earlier this morning. Let's touch on this instead. BYD heads to Europe, showcases 6 new electric models.
It's right where Volkswagen used to dominate in Munich, in Germany. And I mean, I'm just impressed by the progression. So in Shanghai, all of these executives in March, April were all around the BYD stand. And before they know it, BYD is right in their home territory,
Yeah.
launching new models. And, you know, so they had the Seal U there, or they call it the Song Plus again, um, in some markets, but that's a ground up, well, not a ground up, it's actually based off a plug-in hybrid,
Okay.
but it's an electric vehicle that, fully electric in that variant that they're showcasing, looks right next to the Seal. You can see the design language is sort of shared, and it's similar sort of size to a Model Y. So if priced correctly in Europe, it could get some buyers. But if it's priced sort of the same, because in Germany Tesla makes the Model Ys there at the Giga Berlin factory, it may not sell as well. But more options are always better, and BYD is moving very quickly into the European market.
Yeah, but apparently Volkswagen aren't too worried at this stage, so that's all right.
No.
All these people are very interested, though. You can see people crowding around the opening there. Yeah, interesting times ahead in Europe, I think.
Well, Neo is already there, and there was an interesting picture that was shared on somewhere on X of Neo's CEO, right underneath the Tesla stall, underneath the Tesla badge that they had in the back in Munich. So Tesla is also showcasing their upgraded Model 3 in Munich at the same show. So yeah, the Chinese makers are going and having a look at these cars, and the Germans are saying nothing to see here, nothing to worry about.
Nothing to worry about. In fact, they're even saying, I'm just looking at this little teaser here. Reckless BMW chief says focus on EVs leaves Europe open to blackmail. Oh my goodness, that kind of rough language there.
And it's not
Interesting.
the first one. The guy that runs Stellantis, which owns, I think, Peugeot and a couple of other brands in Europe, he's basically saying, "Why are we rolling out a red carpet for the Chinese automakers?" I don't know. It's some CEOs are fearful. Other CEOs are basically saying this. It's reckless, as the
Yeah,
BMW guy says. But Volkswagen's not worried.
yep, I'm not worried. Let's take some more comments here. So we've got Peter Cook. RACV brought the Victorian ChargeFox chargers a few months ago, 350
Yes.
kilowatt sites from a few years ago. Thank you. We don't know how many orders Model 3 has had, right? They don't release those kind of figures.
No, they generally don't. And traditionally, you can look at sort of the wait times or the estimated delivery times. but they've stretched it out so far already with January to March delivery that they haven't pushed it any further. That's like nearly 2 quarters away, or a quarter and a bit away. So we'll keep a close eye on the estimated delivery times in Australia.
Cool. Riz will bring his charts out, don't you worry. Now, Stratus, I want to touch on this. So Stratus is picking up a BMW iX tomorrow. Congratulations. Can anyone give me recommendations on what I need to know? My first ever EV. So Stratus, if you've got all day Saturday free, make sure you go through Ludicrous Feed back catalog. There's a lot of content there, lots of information for EV drivers, and check it out for yourselves.
I think, Tom, you tested it in October last year in Sydney at the Origin Day.
Yep.
So in October, if you sort of scroll down to there, you'll be able to see a video where Tom was at the Origin Fleet Day and got a chance to test drive and look at that car as well.
Yeah, that's right. And I've got a few charging guides as well. There's a charging guide release every 6 months. Question, how feasible is it to drive from Sydney to the Gold Coast? Well, again, have a look at those videos too. Done a few road trips in Australia, especially on the East Coast. And yeah, controversial here. BMW gives 5 years warranty and 5-year ChargeFox free charging. We have touched on this a few times, whether it's cool to give free charging to vehicles. Riz, should we touch on this today? It's a can of worms, isn't it, really?
It is, and I'll just add one note. I saw a press release from Audi with their e-tron Q8 e-tron, and they reckon they give 6 years of charging with ChargeFox on select ChargeFox ultra rapid and rapid charging sites. Not sure what those select sites are, so you might have to look into the detail as to which sites you can charge at, and if some of the newer ones are also part of that package.
Yeah, look, that's not a bad point. I think free charging on like regional centers, right, on road trips, no one's going to camp there too long on a road trip. You want to get on your way. I'm not sure about city centers having free charging for people with BMWs, Mercedes. To me, it encourages camping, and we don't want that unless you place idle fees. Then that's probably okay. I'm not sure if ChargeFox is doing themselves any favors giving free charging out to customers with these cars. Anyway, it's a different topic altogether. Something we've discussed before. But anyway, congratulations, Stratos, with the new BMW iX. Well done. Let's see. Ooh, Bulldog saying, I heard the Tesla Highland has been put up there with BMW and Mercedes in terms of features and quality by a lot of car reviewers. Yeah, it certainly looks very nice from the YouTube videos I've seen.
Very plush.
Yeah. Roughly how much money would I lose in depreciation and trading costs if I bought a Model Y long range now and then traded in for a Model Juniper in, say, 12 months if it were to come out around then? Well, it depends how you dispose of the vehicle, coaxial. So if you trade in, you obviously lose a lot more than trying to sell on the private market. But of course, the headaches do come with trying to sell it privately. So it's a bit of a trade-off. I think probably historically, Riz, maybe 10 to 20% loss if you trade in after a year. Is that about right?
Definitely. And, one factor worth noting is Tesla could cut prices in uncertain times economically where people can't get loans or interest rates a bit high. So they may decide to cut prices in those 18 months. And then people that are looking at a secondhand car are also considering a new one if it costs roughly the same. So it's very hard to have a crystal ball on that. But at the way the prices are today for Tesla Model 3 and Y, I don't think the Y prices have gone up since their July cut. And if they haven't, then it's good value because it's the lowest we've seen. But one thing you could do if you weren't considering a dual motor only car is buy a rear wheel drive car, which is slightly more affordable. And depending on the state or territory you're in, you may be eligible for some subsidies on it, which you may not get on the long range car. And then it's less of a loss if you decide to sell privately in 12 to 18 months time.
Yeah, generally better resale and obviously more demand too. So more buyers looking at your car too. Just quickly, Peter Cook says, these are the sites you can stop at. Karua, NRMA, BP8 at the Braid to reach Coffs, and skip Tari and Port Macquarie. Positive vibes out to Kangaroo Island TV. His Polestar is stuck in Port Kembla. Might not get to me until mid-November. Or send positive thoughts. Yep, we're sending positive thoughts your way there, Kangaroo. I've stopped at the Port Macquarie Charge Fox. That's not too bad. It's a nice stop as well with all the food outlets nearby. Yes, John, that's true. Model S and X owners get free supercharging, but there is idle fees associated with that. That's not free if you camp there too. Yes, agreed. Idle fees need to apply too. And not all Model S and X get free supercharging too. Yeah.
I think it was 2017 or 2018 was the cutoff.
Yeah, that's right. All right, let's whip through these articles really quickly before we sign off. So BMW add 3 more EV variants priced below key tax thresholds.
Yeah, so the iX1 gets a new variant, a single motor one, an i4, and an iX3. I think out of all of them, the iX3 will be the most popular one because iX1 is a little bit too small and iX3s are pretty popular. So yeah, it's good to see that they're starting to bring somewhat affordable models into the range.
Yeah, I think being below the LCT is a good, or luxury car tax is a good step forward. Limit is 89,000 for this financial year, so yeah, it's good you don't have to pay unnecessary tax on a performance or on a premium vehicle, I guess. So not bad looking cars either. And finally, Xpeng starts warming up for X9 MPV. Wow, she has photos of camouflage wrapped vehicle. That is a funky wrap.
That looks, to me, it looks a little bit like the Cybertruck from the front.
Yeah, it does.
So Xpeng taking after obviously Volkswagen's cash injection is really doing what they can to. But I think it's a unique segment. People movers do need to eventually be electrified, and yeah, very angular. I quite like the look, and would be cool to see them one day in the Australian market.
Yeah, definitely bring it here for sure. Any thoughts on pricing? Any indication?
Not that I'm aware of. The
Oh,
article
here we
may
go.
cover it.
68 $68,000 US.
So this is, I think, a competitor to that,
Oh,
Li
sorry.
Auto's.
I apologize. Yes.
But I guess we'll look. It would be, given we have that LDV MIFA 9 starting at 106,000, anyone that's doing better than that would get a few more sales.
Birds will be flying to that Xpeng. Well, if it's wrapped like that, it probably would. That's pretty funny. All right. Finally, a few more comments before we wrap up today. Do you think we would get 446 kilometers in Model Y performance? There's a road I need to take, and the distance between chargers. I don't know. That's pretty on the highway. Maybe not. It's pretty touch and go. I think, Cameron. We got about 350 on the road with the rear-wheel drive. It's traveling 110 kilometers an hour, so I don't think 446 would be possible. Very close though. Yeah, are the stalks just a first step too far? I think where it would fall down is exiting out of a roundabout. If it's, as you're turning, what do you do with the indicator? Do you have to flick under the wheel there? I'll certainly test that for you guys. All right, everyone. That's it for us today. So thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Really appreciate joining us on a Saturday morning. Over 110 views I saw at one stage. So that's 110 viewers at one stage. That's pretty impressive for a Saturday morning. And thanks, Riz, for covering for me when my NBN died for those couple of minutes there. But as I see from the comments, you did very well. So thank you.
Well, hopefully you get a good price for the car, Tom, with that buyer popping in real early.
Thank you. Hopefully the hordes coming through that door you can see there behind me. Okay, we can keep them at bay. Cool. All right. Yes, I agree, Nick. Thanks, team. Nice catch, Riz. Appreciate that. Bulldog saying, you guys are awesome. Keep up the great work. Love the show. Always a pleasure to tune in. Thank you. Thank you, Kangaroo Island. Thanks, Tom and Riz. Appreciate that. Mark says thanks all as well. Cool. And I want to thank our sponsors once again, Wallbox and Carloop, for supporting the show as always. Thank you, Riz. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Tom. See you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week. Ciao and happy charging. Take care.